Thank you so much, Supervisor Solis. I'll have more to say about her in a moment. Really appreciate the kind introduction. I want to recognize the leadership of so many who helped make this possible. You have an extraordinary federal delegation, including Senator Padilla, who I spoke with, who is excited about this project, and Representative Gomez, my fellow toddler parent, who has really set a great example on how you can be an active father and be in public life, someone that Chasten and I really appreciate and admire. Thank you to Superintendent Carvalho. Your work here has been extraordinary, and your team here is doing such important work. Principal Marmolejo, thank you for inviting us to what is clearly not just a school, but in so many ways the beating heart of this neighborhood and this community. And to everybody involved in educating children and supporting them and their parents here. Thank you. It's been great to be with Stephanie Wiggins again, especially both yesterday and today, what we've been looking at, to be with Caltrans and to be with so many community stakeholders and leaders from every level of government. And I'm especially delighted to be reunited with Hilda Solis. I might even be able to beat Jimmy in claiming how far back I go with her, because the first I ever heard the phrase environmental justice was when I was a high school student. And I participated in an essay contest, which led to my having the privilege of being present at the ceremony when the Profile in Courage Award was given, as it is every year, to one extraordinary American leader. And that year it was given to a little-known California assemblywoman who had done such extraordinary work benefiting the neighborhood of La Puente Hills and others that she served. And to watch her in Congress, to watch her really set an example of how to be a great member of a president's cabinet, and to watch her return to something that, as a former mayor, I have always believed, which is no matter what heights you have visited in our nation's political system, there is no more compelling level of government or work to be done than being among the people you serve every day in local, municipal, county leadership. She continues to be an example that I admire. So thank you so much for the chance to join me today. As she said, we've been here for a little over 24 hours, and it's been an extraordinary visit. Yesterday, we started our day breaking ground at a facility at Long Beach that will mean that millions of containers can go onto rail directly, which means they won't have to go on trucks up the 710, meaning air quality benefits for people throughout this region and stronger supply chains. We looked at the zero-emission buses that we are helping LA Metro to acquire and deploy, the largest fleet of clean buses in the country, and so many other steps being taken to make it easier, cleaner, safer, and more affordable for people to get to where they need to be. And today is another example of how President Biden's infrastructure funding is making everyday life better. This is a region, of course, that is famous for its roads, its highways, its freeways, its cars. And if you look at images from the 50s and 60s when a lot of that construction was happening, you see a lot of celebration and fanfare. Tourists posing next to recently completed bridges and ribbon cuttings with pageant winners as guests of honor. There's even an image of President Reagan operating a bulldozer. That was thought to represent progress, and certainly very important possibilities opened with our highway and freeway system. But something else happened that we have to take responsibility for. When it was built, the 710 was an investment in supply chains and in vehicle travel, but like so many of the freeways and highways of that era, lower-income communities were split in half, cut out of the benefits because they lacked the political power to reshape or resist those plans. And the result was shuttered businesses, people forced out of neighborhoods. For those that remained in this area, the 710, a highway whose purpose ought to be to connect, wound up also serving to divide, a barrier to get from one part of the community to another, with the primary pedestrian overpass, as we just saw, limited to a narrow sidewalk right next to a busy two-way road. And with a freeway now running through the neighborhood, it also meant increased exposure to polluted air, and higher rates of respiratory diseases like asthma and even cancer have been found in neighborhoods close to those highways. The students and everybody walking on that sidewalk isn't just contending with vehicle traffic, they are contending with history. And sometimes people say, why would you dwell on that? Nobody in charge today is responsible for how that was done. Why are you making everyone feel guilty and dwelling on the past? But the point is not an exercise in blame or guilt. The point is that we can do something about it. Even if nobody in a position of responsibility today is responsible for creating some of these challenges and harms and barriers, everyone today is responsible for what we do next. And because of President Biden's bipartisan infrastructure law, we have the resources to do something about it. As we modernize America's transportation systems at a scale we haven't seen since the Eisenhower years, in this era, as we work to build and rebuild our transportation systems, we're making sure that all communities benefit from the projects that we're funding. And yes, that includes bridging the divides of the past. And sometimes that's something we're doing very, very literally. That's why, on behalf of President Biden and the Biden-Harris administration, I'm so proud to join you to celebrate $10 million to help build that Humphreys Avenue crossing. This is a bridge that's going to make it easier for people to go about their days, more accessible overpass for people who walk or bike or roll from one side of the neighborhood to another, and it'll make it safer for kids to get to school in the morning, something, again, that touches me in a whole new way ever since becoming a parent. I'm relishing the fact that I'm in those in-between years where my kids actually like hearing about my job. I know eventually they will be too cool for that, but coming up on 3, our son, who never met an excavator he didn't love, likes hearing about construction, and I can explain to our daughter, even though she's not 3 yet, a little bit about what we're doing. And when I tell her we're building a bridge to help kids get to school, her first question will be, are you bringing tape? Even she can understand the virtue and the value of that, even if this one's going to take a little more than tape to get done. And I would add, create a lot of good-paying jobs in getting that done too, which we're very, very excited about. Being here at Humphreys Avenue School, seeing the crossing it is now, I can imagine how a parent feels, especially if they know that their children have to traverse that crowded passageway, and knowing the value of having a new bridge, which is just for pedestrians and cyclists, and that safe path to school. One thing I want to note that is a common feature of all of these 60,000 and counting projects we're funding in President Biden's infrastructure package is that out of that 60,000, 0 were invented or developed at our headquarters in Navy Yard in Washington, D.C. These are community projects. The ideas aren't coming from Washington, but more of the funding has been needed to come from Washington, and now, at last, it is. And I would add, while we're proud of the historic levels of funding that we have, this is a very competitive process. We can't fund every good project we see. So when you make the cut demonstrating the community benefit, the equity benefit, the safety benefit, the economic benefit, the environmental benefit, that is something to be very, very proud of. Let me attempt to say a few words en español. Estoy muy contento de estar aquí en Los Ángeles para celebrar una inversión federal de casi $10 millones para construir un nuevo cruce en Humphreys Avenue. Gracias a la administración Biden-Harris, pronto habrá un nuevo puente que facilitará el camino de las personas, haciendo esta calle más accesible y segura para aquellos que caminan, andan en bicicleta o que tienen alguna discapacidad. El nuevo puente también brindará seguridad para los niños y niñas que caminan aquí a Humphreys Avenue Elementary School. Y como padre de niños, 2 niños pequeños, yo sé lo importante que es para las familias la seguridad de sus hijos. Debo resaltar que aunque este proyecto será pagado con fondos federales, es el resultado del esfuerzo de la comunidad. Felicidades por este gran logro que mejorará la calidad de la vida de los residentes de esta área y gracias por recibirme aquí el día de hoy. I think I survived that. I want to close by just putting this in context. The work goes beyond what we're doing at DOT. In California alone, for example, President Biden has dedicated over $45 billion to projects that are going to make sure the water that comes out of the faucet is safe to drink, that families have affordable and fast internet at home so their kids can do their homework, that more electric cars and clean buses and school buses are on those roads and freeways so that the air everybody breathes here is cleaner. And after a lot of hard work, last month prices fell instead of climbed for the first time since the pandemic began disrupting our economy in 2020. We have seen a lot of progress over the last few years, but we know there is more work ahead. Today is a great day to celebrate, and the only thing, especially as a former mayor, that I love more than announcing a project is seeing it completed. So I hope you will send a postcard inviting me to the ribbon cutting when this wonderful project gets done. Thank you, congratulations, and keep up the great work here in this community. Take care.